Oh my God. Oh my God. No cackling.
It's an hour.
We got actually, yeah, we got to say some words. What a podcast, the cackle. Hey everyone, welcome to this special episode of Conscious Conversations. We are outside in a beautiful spot in Perth, Western Australia, and what's up? Yeah! This young lady here is my daughter, Miss Italia Rose, who I'm super stoked to be having a conversation with today. We want to break down our relationship for you guys as father-daughter, and we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot.
Oh yeah.
Really. And honestly, we've been through a lot. There's no trauma here.
It's all perfect.
We're okay. We're really good. So we have been through a lot. Without going into all the details, for those of you who don't know, I got caught up in addiction for many, many years, and for a long time there, it looked like I wouldn't make it out of that. And during my time in active addiction, Tars was at such a vulnerable age where she really needed a fucking dad. And I disappeared during such important times in Talia's life, which still, it just pains me still now, just feeling that. And so we've been through a lot, and we've both held on, really. I mean, I feel like you've held the fuck on, Tals, because you were younger, you were younger and you didn't really understand what was going on. You'd have no idea what addiction was. And I'll get you to share about this, but my perception of it would have been like, oh, you had this awesome dad and then all of a sudden he's gone and he's changed, and when you do see him, he's like a different person. And so that would have been tough, I'm sure, and I'd love to hear about your experience with that. There's hope in the healing, guys, and that's a big part of the conversation today, and why I want to do this episode is there is hope. You can make it through great adversity. You can heal yourself. You can heal those beautiful and important relationships to you. If it's been a bit rocky, you can heal, you can come back from great adversity. And I've been back in Talia's life now for, I think it's
10 years.
10 years?
I remember 2015.
15, jeez. When I first landed, that's nuts. Yeah, so it's been a while. Because I remember when I actually landed back in Perth, that was 2017, but I was still, I flew you over to the Gold Coast, and there was a start of the healing there. That was a bit earlier. When I landed back in Perth, that was 2017. So it's been some years where I felt that I have been a steady influence in Talia's life, and it's been rocky though, because I left, and Tar's gonna have her own feelings about that. So what do you want to share about all that, Tars?
I kind of want to start like just touching on what you said about how there is hope in the healing, and how like it's so profound, the turnaround we've had. Like we've always had such a deep connection, but I think to go so far apart from each other and then to be able to come back together so like closely and so powerfully is so rare. And I think it's a really good thing that we're doing this and showing people that not only can you go that far apart, but you can come back together better than you even were after so much pain. Like the pain's almost brought us closer together, and because I feel like when people go through addiction or just family issues or broken families, it's like they feel like they'll never be able to get back to that place of innocence, like where you start. But I like genuinely wouldn't change the time apart and the heartache, because like we have the best relationship ever, and the pain obviously when there's pain there with your parents and your family, that is reflected in other relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, all the things. And there's been great learning there for me, seeing how the wounds here with you and both my mother as well, like, have played out as an adult with other people. And there's actually healing in that. It's almost like in my other relationships, it's like I'm constantly healing the wound here with you, not only with you, but with other men around me, whether it's platonic or romantic. It's just a constant evolution. And I mean, I've moved through a lot of the pain of it, because in the last 10 years or however long it's been, you've really shown me that you're not going anywhere and that you're unwavering. And although I can still feel there's gaps in the trust of that,
of course,
you keep showing up, and that over time, and like I'm almost there where it's like I can completely 100% trust your word, you know, because it takes time, you know, when you say you'll do something and you don't, and blah blah blah. So it's like I'm almost there where it's like whenever you say, I can fully trust and surrender to that, because you haven't gone anywhere over the last 10 years. You've just been this pillar, and it's like you're proving the wounded part of me wrong.
Helping in the healing, giving a what we would call a corrective emotional experience, because you had so many experiences that were shit. Let's just put it down that. And of course, you how can you trust an addict? And I was so in addiction and so wound up in my own self. And even though always, and it pains me in my review, because always, of course, I knew I had this beautiful daughter, yet there was just like this such darkness and a demon inside of me that I didn't really want to go on. And I was, which is fucked to say, which is so fucked to say. And there's a part of me in there that's like, that's bullshit. You did want to go on. And it was, although it was pain-driven behavior, it was still selfish. It was still cowardice and unacceptable. And yet it happened. And it's so strange that it happened, because we talk about this a lot, guys. We had such a beautiful little family unit. Myself, Italia's mum, and Charles. And because I cleaned up my act really quite early on. I was in addiction and I was partying a lot in late teens, but sorted my shit out early and started looking into personal spiritual development and healing. We bought a house and we were together, and we were close, Charles, during that time of that 5, 6, 7, you know. It's just, and I feel like that bond we created there has been an integral part of us coming back together, because we formed such a close bond at that time. So even though there was this parting, which I can't even imagine as a child at that age, it would just, how could you comprehend? You just wouldn't understand. It would just be like,
I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why. All I know is that you were absent, and that's it. And also, obviously, other people's opinions on why you were absent and what was happening was around, but all I knew is that my dad wasn't around. I didn't know that you were struggling or the story. Although I did learn about it, I'd say fairly early. I was like 12, 13, started to understand addiction and stuff like that. But
it just pains me even just hearing, because it's like, it's so far from my nature as well. And it's like, how did that happen? Out of all the choices that could have been made, how did we go from this family, and Tiles and I being tight and like peas in a pod, really, we really are. How did we go from that to almost death? And even Tiles, like she's gone through such big darkness, so much depression, anxiety, and I'm so fucking proud of her. The last fucking 12 months, she's just slayed demons. She's finding herself, stepping into her own light. And for me, I'm like, oh, that's my girl, you know. It's like, but it's moving for me because I feel responsible. You know, it was like, as a father, for not being there and playing my role in some of the, you know, some of the issues and the pain and the darkness that you were facing. And it was just such a big component of my recovery was, what the fuck am I doing? And Charles was like, honestly, in that first portion of when I woke up and I was like, I've got to clean my act up, because I got arrested for a violent crime and I was looking at facing 5 years. I had warrants in other states. It was a fucking mess. But a huge component of that, Tales, was what the fuck, my daughter, because I've said this before, it was 2 days before your 12th birthday, and it just fucking broke me. It's like my conscience switched on again, and I just touched into a more authentic and real part of me, which of course is like, oh, my girl, my little girl that you used to call her, it's just like my daughter. What the fuck, I've got to clean my act up. And that was a huge component of my turnaround and recovery. And eventually, I wanted to do it for me, but just being straight up, you and being a dad and wanting to reconnect and be the father that I feel in my heart I could be was such a big part, until I really started healing and loving myself and facing my own demons and clearing through that. And then I'm like, oh, I want to go on for me as well. And of course, the overflow of that is being the best dad that I can be. And I just knew it would take time, guys. I knew that there was damage in our relationship. And when I landed back in Perth, I didn't even tell Talia that I was coming back. But the reason though is because I was conscious of that wound that you touched on about not doing what you say and you're going to be there and then you're not. Now I flew back into Perth and I had warrants for my arrest and I was cleaning up my mess, so I didn't want to say, hey Tales, I'm coming back. I was handing myself in at the courts to face consequences, and the lawyer was like, you're probably going to serve minimum 18 months, maybe 3 years. Yeah. She was like, why are you coming back? I'm like, because I'm making amends, and even if I've got to serve time, I want to clean up my mess. It doesn't matter, and that's my home. I don't want to keep running. I'm not running from myself anymore. I'm not going to run from the consequences of the criminal activity and things I was involved in. So that was painful, Ed, but it was a conscious choice not to tell Talia, because I didn't know when I hand myself in at court if they were going to lock me up. So I just didn't know. And the way it went was they didn't. I was allowed out on bail. It was still a serious crime and serious things I was facing, but I was allowed out on bail. So then that was cool. Because I'd been interstate for years. Remember this, guys? And
wait, so how long were you in Perth for before you rocked up? Because I thought you had just got back.
It was, I had. It was probably, I flew in, slept at a hotel, handed myself in the next day, and then that afternoon.
Oh, okay.
It was within 24 hours.
Yeah. I will never forget, because Dad just pulled up out the front, and I think Mum was like, there's someone out the front.
Yeah, I saw your mum first. I'm like, she's like, what? I'm like, get those out. It's like,
fuck, that was crazy.
Yeah.
It had been years, right?
Well, we had seen each other probably, I don't know, 12 months before I flew you over to Gold Coast.
That time,
but it had been ages since we'd seen each other.
But just touching on what you were saying a few minutes back about like when you started your recovery, how I was almost the inspiration for you to keep going and get clean. As an adult now, I can sympathize and fully understand that, because sometimes like you do need the love that you have for someone else to inspire you to get your shit together, because the reason that you're in that place of addiction in the first place is because there's a lack of self-love.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes I don't actually think it's a bad thing if you need someone you love more than yourself in that moment to get you up and out, and then on that journey of turning that love inwards. I know that because often, like in those dark days, it's not my life that makes me want to keep going. It's my family, or it's my friends, or whatever it is. But the last fucking 12 months,
huge.
Like, boom. I don't even know where to start. Like, 6 months ago, or last winter, I was probably the most depressed I'd been in a long time. It was fucked. Went through a pretty traumatic breakup. I went and did a really intense retreat in Bali, and a lot of wounding came up there, and
spiritual retreat, woman's retreat.
Yeah, energetic stuff, and in the jungle in Bali. It was fucking sick. I did that 2 years in a row for my 21st and 22nd birthday. And although it was a profound experience, I spent 8 days in the jungle purging and uncovering things that I had forgotten and things like that. So I came home to the same house I grew up in with this new, just all my shit in my face, to put it, all this shit I had been avoiding and had like shoved away and didn't want to look at. Especially the second retreat was about you and Mum. There's a lot there. And so I just got home and I just had all of these memories and all of this emotion just there, and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't have the practices or the energy to integrate it, so it just kind of sat there. And that kind of led me into some old patterns of secluding myself and going very introverted and not socializing and going into this very dissociated state. As well, I was processing my first big heartbreak. And again, that heartbreak, me being in Bali, that heartbreak, I had the father wound come up, as well as processing my ex. And it was fucking intense. Like, it was really intense. And it was beautiful because I was in the space of a lot of mother figures. I was the youngest on the retreat, and I was really held by these women, and I'm eternally grateful for them. But yeah, that sent me into a really dark place, and I couldn't even explain or put into words because I was just very dissociated, and it was just like this numb. The pain was so large that I was just in this numb, out of my body, floaty state, and I forgot all the grounding techniques. I forgot all the energetic practices and all of that, and I was just floating in this like grief state. And yeah, since about, I mean, I've dealt with anxiety since I was probably like 8 or something. I've always felt responsible for like the adults around me, and I've always felt like this responsibility, and with that comes anxiety in my like little kid body. It's like I'm responsible for these things that are bigger than me. But yeah, and anyway, so yeah, it's been probably like 10-15 years of anxiety and depression on and off, and I had never touched medication because I had it was a bit of an ego thing, but also I live a very natural life, and I didn't want to give in to pharmaceuticals. But I'll be honest, when that period of time was happening, it got really fucking scary. And I got a prescription, and for about 3 months I was on antidepressants, which got me out of the scary part of wanting to kill myself. And I'm actually grateful that I asked for help, because I didn't feel like I had the energy to even feed myself, let alone keep living. So I appreciate that small pocket of help that I got there chemically. And yeah, the turnaround was leaning into creativity, and I had some decks that were collecting dust for like a year. I wanted to learn how to DJ, and during that time of isolation I got them out, even though I was numb, and I just started like practicing, just putting the energy into something. Even like 5 minutes a day, I just started putting my energy there. And then around the same time I got this reminder that I had signed up for a competition a year prior. My friend told me about this competition called Your Shot. It's for people that have never DJed before, and they give you training over 6 weeks, and amazing opportunities come for it. And I got this message saying, hey, registration day is tomorrow, you got in. And I was like, I had forgotten I even fucking signed up for it. And it was interesting because I had just got my decks out and I had just started diving into that. And so I went to this registration day. There was like 500 people. We all got interviewed. I got into the top 100. And the fucking journey started. And that's something I always come back to now, is because it's not like I'm rid of those depressive thoughts or the anxiety. Like, it's still there. It's just I've learned how to move the energy, and creativity is it. Like, putting it into a project, something outside of yourself. Because I find when I'm depressed, I'm going around and around in circles. It's almost like vanity. But like in like not in like the cocky way. It's like I hate myself, but all I'm thinking about is myself.
Yeah.
So it's service and creativity that I find gets me out. It's like helping others, asking others about them instead of me. And then also just a project. Like, so started this competition, and just naturally the depressive thoughts kind of just moved away, because I had something to be excited about. I had something that I loved and that was inspiring me and made me want to live again, because I was like, oh, why would I want to die? This is so cool. You know? And since then it's just like kicked off.
It's
a little.
It's a big thing, and I just feel to mention that music and dance and singing and that creativity, the reason why that has been so helpful for you, Tals, coming out of all the darkness, is because that's your essence, that's who you are. Growing up, that's all we did, and you know, I have a history in that. I love the arts as well. That's why we say peas in the pod, because we very much are. Yet I didn't pursue it. Growing up, that's all Tals did. We always had tunes on in the house. Tals was just crumping and just dancing from.
Crumping, I have this vivid memory in that first
Elliot.
Missy Elliott. I had like this Barbie stereo.
Yeah, pink Barbie.
And I stole the CD, and I remember Mum. I don't know if both of you, but I remember Mum walking in on me naked, crumping to Missy Elliott. And that bitch still lives inside of me.
Yeah.
In the club, I'm DJing,
it's like, whoa.
Miss 6-year-old is like crumping and feeling the music.
With her clothes on, but in the club.
Yeah. I'm not naked in the club, no. But
it was just, and that's what I felt as a father as well, is like, it was just so obvious. It was like when Tals sung, it gave everyone goosebumps, and she was just built for that. And it pained me so much, because it was like, clearly the guidance and the impressions I was getting as a dad was to nurture her into that field. And at the same time, I was moving into acting, because it was something that I loved so much as a boy, and I've done videos on this, guys. I shut all that down because I got ridiculed when I was really young for loving the arts so much. And so I shut all that down, but it is actually my nature as well, that creativity. So there was this period where Tals was about 5, 6, and I was starting to reawaken as well myself to who I truly was and what I really loved, and started, you know, I flew to, when your mum and I separated, which was amicable at the start. It was like, oh wow, I didn't really expect it, but I can feel that's for the highest and best good of both of us and everyone. And we love each other. We've been together since we were 17, and it was nearly 10 years together, and that felt right at that point. And really that's when I started to go, oh my God, I remember the arts and acting. And I flew to the Gold Coast. I started a triple threat diploma, and I was doing acting and all this sort of stuff.
Can I just say, sorry to butt in, but it's so interesting that I've found a lot of people come back to their essence and that, like, create that thing, thing, when they go through a breakup. It's like they come back to themselves when you're not focusing on someone else. All you have is, what do I love? What do I want to do? What's my purpose? So it's so interesting, because the same thing happened for me when I went through my breakup. I was like, what do I want to do? I've always wanted to do music. There was no distraction. So it's interesting that you came back to that after you guys split. Yeah, it is a bit of a theme and pattern that happens in human relationships. And the ideal, guys, is when you go into a relationship to be so solid in yourself. Two people who are whole and solid in themselves, they know what they're doing and where they're going, and they just choose to come together. And there's no entanglement or codependency in that. So that's the ideal.
so you wouldn't lose yourself when you entered into a romantic relationship or a relationship of any sort. You just stay on your path. But yeah, I had that and started pursuing that, and it was very clear to me to just really nurture Tals. I didn't know what her mum was going to do, and it was none of my business. She's on her own path. But it was really clear because we have this kind of relationship where, as I feel like I kind of get Tals, and I could just see her, and I could just feel, I just knew that that's the industry and that's the direction she was meant to head. And that's not so long after that when it got a bit gnarly with the breakup, with visitations and a few things like that, with me seeing Tals and her mum putting some things in place, and rightly so, doing her thing. I've got no judgment about that. I didn't hold my own truth within all that, and I didn't hold strong, and within that period when we broke up, I don't know timelines, but about 18 months later I started drinking again, which is just, that's all over, because I had been clean and sober and doing personal spiritual development and looking into the arts, and that's just my nature to be. I am also a clean liver. And so that's when I relapsed shortly after that, and that pains me because I don't know how old you were, 7, 8, 9, I don't know. But it was just around that period where, and I had started landing some acting and some modelling work even back then, and things were happening, but all of my demons just crept up, all of my low self-worth, all my insecurities, all the fear, all the doubt, lots of things came in at me that I couldn't deal with in the moment, and I fell and relapsed. And so Tals kind of missed that opportunity there to be nurtured into that environment from a young age. But it's been so beautiful coming back into her life, and like I said a while back, I knew it was going to take as long as it took because we had mending to do. So I just landed in Perth, but I knew in my own heart, I'm like, I'm here, I'm going to be the dad that I know, the ideal in my heart. I don't care what any other fathers are doing or what society thinks. What my own heart feels is a good dad, I'm being that. I'm going to be solid. And I've just held when I've got back. So it's been quite fucking something for me as your dad to watch, really, Tals. No, seriously, because it's like music, I've just known that, and you've known that. You've known that, how your love of that. It's like, that's my girl when she's crumping to Missy, and when it's just
at 5.
music. Yeah. And it was just always Christina Aguilera and just good music or good pop music and just
so
it was
funny
her.
meeting, because most people most of my friends that their parents are a lot older than your mum.
Yeah.
And so they all grew up with like older style music, and I just had kind of cheesy, like Justin Timberlake.
Oh, bro, Justified. Come on.
That's the best.
Some of the beats in that are so sick.
But yeah, I come from the pop stuff.
Yeah.
Divas.
Yeah.
That's why I got a bit of attitude, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is going to be good in this industry, to have a bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's interesting because, like, although singing has always been a part of my life, and it's always been there, and dancing, just music, anything music related. And again, my childhood was a little rocky. There was lots of moving around and stuff. So I went to dance classes, I did singing classes a couple times, but because I was either moving state or houses or schools, I've been to 9 different schools. It was up and down, like crazy. And
because
so,
your mum fell into addiction as well. Let's get real about that as well. So that was, Italia had both parents who fell back into addiction. Her mum and I were using a little bit when Italia was really young, but we cleaned up really quickly. But in that breakup, she went back into that as well. So Tals had
interesting that you both, like, kind of at the same time.
Yeah, went back.
Yeah.
Unresolved stuff. Look at your stuff, people. Be honest.
Look at your shit.
Look at your shit.
Look at
Therapy
your
is for real. Therapy is real.
Therapy is for everyone.
Yeah, that's a shirt right there. Therapy is for everyone.
We're saying it here.
Yeah.
Next episode, we're going to have a shirt.
Yeah,
therapy is for everyone.
And word, Tals. We've all got blind spots.
So much therapy.
And it's like, don't pretend you're not fucked up. We're all fucked up to varying degrees. We all need healing and love, self-love. We need to learn to love ourselves, accept ourselves, and extend ourselves ourselves. When you naturally love and accept yourself truly, then you can authentically extend yourself in love and acceptance to others as you heal. And how I share it, Tales, is you want to fill your own cup up with love and acceptance and compassion, whatever you need, until it's overflowing. And it's the overflow you share with the world and people. Because otherwise, you're giving from a half empty, or like an empty cup, and that's
what
not
are you
healthy.
Giving if there's
you got nothing.
It's so interesting that you use that analogy, because I used that analogy yesterday in terms of money. Like, I was tapping into like the abundance of this career, and just the first thought that I get when I think about the money that's going to come and that's there is saving my family. And I'm not saving, but paying Nanny's house off.
Yeah.
Sending mum on a fucking month-long tropical holiday because she fucking deserves it. Getting you a Ferrari, like
Lambo,
triple A.
Woo.
Like,
yeah.
I know. Like all the things. And so, but my friend was like, you don't go into it already like with the savior thing.
Yeah.
Like, be excited to give, but like
not the saviorship.
Treat yourself.
Absolutely.
First, you know? So yeah, it's the same thing with like filling your own cup and stuff, whether it's with money or love or whatever it is. It's so important, because what are you offering others if you've got nothing to give to yourself?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And that's a big thing that I feel is important to put out there, Tales, is the way of healing is really being your own parent, being your own champion, being your own cheer squad. And yeah, we need support, absolutely. Yet the most important relationship is with self, with source, with life, universe, God, whatever you want to call that creative intelligence, the magic that is life. They're the most important relationships. And yeah, it's being with yourself, self-discovery, looking within. Who am I? What do I actually need? What's going on for me? And working towards being able to source and give whatever you need to yourself.
Yeah. And that when I had no distractions, no relationship, no job, no nothing to distract myself, that is when the real self-love started happening, because I had no fucking choice. I had no one else around me to love more than myself. I had no one else to put all of my energy into or distract me. It was just looking at myself, like taking a real hard look at myself and the state I was in. And there was no choice. There was no option other than to start to love myself. As fucking hippie as that sounds, it's true. Like, there was no one else around me to love more than me, you know, at that stage. So that's when I started going inwards, and yeah, fuck.
It's been a journey, Tales, and the music thing has been so helpful. So it was because that has been such a thing for Tales from such a young age. And now last year she just went through a fucking volcanic fucking time, nuts. And for a dad, I'm like,
and when I'm going through that, I isolate.
Some ghosts
so I be
around
ghosting,
here.
and especially Dad, because there's some resentment there. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer your fucking loving message.
Yeah.
I don't feel worthy.
Yeah. Get your love and support away from me.
Literally.
Yeah.
It was like resentment. Like, stop seeing me. Because Dad can see me. Like, it doesn't matter what mask I have on, or if I paint a picture of like I'm doing how good, he's like, Tales.
Yeah, what's up?
I'll see you.
I don't even need to say that.
Yeah, he'll just give me this look. I'm like, fuck you. Okay.
Last time we were laughing on the way here, because last time we saw each other, it was like 45 minutes, quick dip
and we
at the
hadn't
beach.
seen each other in ages.
Yeah, it was just like, yo, beach, and we frothed the beach so much. I just love it. So I was like, yo, we've got some time up my sleeve, and a cool time at the beach as per going deep, because whenever we just do it's
even
just
if
like
we've only got 45 minutes,
it's just like
it's just a portal.
yeah, we just sync up, and it's like, what's really going on under the surface? It just all comes out.
Yeah.
And Tales is like, yo, Dad, I'm so glad that I have an existential crisis every time I see you. Thanks for that. I'm like, you're welcome.
See you in another 2 months for that. Like, fuck.
And it's interesting that you say that, see you in another 2 months, because a lot of people watching our relationship or knew about our relationship, they were like, you're not close. Because there's this perception being close as being in each other's business, you know, and in each other's
Eating
pockets.
dinner at the same dinner table.
Yeah, and you're not at dinner at this time. That's
You
what we
have to
do.
love me.
I'm offended. Yeah, you don't love me. You didn't have a
We're
cup
not
of tea with me 3 times a week.
But that's the thing. We have
It's-
the closest, most like intimate, authentic relationship I've ever known. Like outside of all my friends that have present fathers, not that you're present now, but
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's real. It's quality over quantity. And the time we spend together, even if there's 6 months apart, it's fucking real, and the time disappears. Like the time we spend together, like it erases the time that we haven't been together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so we have been,
just
and
pack
we are the whole
lifetimes
time.
of shit into an hour. Like, it doesn't matter what time
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Tars, because a lot of people would be like, that's not love, you guys aren't close. I mean, we text more on Signal now
Yeah.
because Tars, you know, because she would ghost me. And it's so obvious. Even if you didn't ghost me, I know what's going on for you. I feel that deeply.
Yeah.
But where I hope, and it was my goal, and I feel it is true, and you've shared with me that Tals knows that I'm here for her now, and if anything is getting real for her, and she can reach out to me. I'm aware of the process of sometimes you need cave time.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go into your cave and it's a ghosting thing, because I can feel the insecurities and the fuck yous and all that coming out.
And as well, wanting to impress you. Like, there's like only wanting to share the good things and not feeling worthy of your love if I'm showing up in anything other than my best.
Yeah.
And that goes with all my other relationships, but specifically you, there's like an extra wanting to impress. So I'd rather ghost than show what I feel is unworthy, like those sides of me.
Yeah.
Even though you can tell me that I'm worthy and that you love me regardless, but it's like a believing it for myself. you know?
Yeah.
But these days I'm like, I'm fucked. Hey, I'll still see you. Like, it's a little less cavey these days.
And that's true. It's been a big change, and a big part of that is because you're doing what you love and you're stepping into your heart's calling and heart's
I did
singing.
take that time away. I did go into that cave.
You did, yeah.
And that was part of it.
Many dark nights of the soul, you could call that, and so I feel that Tals knows that I'm here for her now, and we don't need to see each other every day, and I trust that we see each other when we're meant to, and that's it. And Tals knows that I'm so committed to the work that I do now. I'm so into mentoring and teaching and healing and all that, and she knows that's my love. And we just sync up when we do. There's no forced anything. If it was 12 months, I'd be like, yo, girl. Even 6 months, I'm like, oh, what's going on? But that's just nature going, you need to catch up. So we will. We will. And I don't feel any like push or pull or resentment in that, because we're both in our own lanes. And I feel in the healing of our relationship, I feel that Talia's got to know me as a man and my journey as a human being more, and the pain and my understanding of things and, my experience. So, I feel that's given Talia a deeper understanding of how I tick as well. We've just got to know each other a lot better.
And that as well, like, where obviously I still need a dad, but I'm not a child anymore. So it's almost like we don't live under the same roof. We don't do the dinner every night together. We don't do that like kid and dad thing. So it is kind of like having a homie that you need to, we've got busy lives. We're both living in our purpose. We need to lock it in the calendar when it feels right. And that's growing up too. And
I've got the dad card. It's like we're mates, but I'm your dad.
But you're,
like, it's like, yo, have you fucking eaten today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes I need
like,
that.
So there is that as well. It's like
it's like I don't
that was a while. That was a while ago, but it was just one that came to me. It's like, because sometimes I'm like, when we would catch up, the first thing would be like, I'm already on the way to fucking Subway. Yeah. Because it's like, dude, you need to eat.
This bitch is malnourished.
And I mean, that was all that period, Tars, where the depression, anxiety, not caring for yourself.
You're not connected to your body. So I didn't even know when I was hungry and when I wasn't feeling, you know, what certain foods were doing to my body and blah blah blah. You know, and that's a deep one. That is where addiction shows up in me.
Yeah.
Is my relationship with food and the binging and restricting and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And even the fact that I can say that publicly shows, because I remember the shameful conversations we'd have about the M&Ms and like all of that shit. So and that's been confronting for me as well, because for a long time, like, I was so scared that I'd have like that addiction in me. I saw what addiction did, and I would like resent it and I'd push it away, blah, blah, blah. But that's actually, there was so much fear there because
it's gonna be like you're feeding it.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. And so I had to really, and in the last year I've noticed that like I do have addictive tendencies, and admitting that and sitting with it and not being scared of it takes the weight out of it.
Yep.
And I don't have fear that I'm going to go down the same intense path you did, because I'm sitting with it in the subtle ways addiction shows up, with my phone, with food, with attention or love or whatever it is. Like, there's subtle addictions everywhere.
Everyone, everywhere.
And all the things.
Yeah.
So I feel the fact that I've caught those more subtle addictions in my life, like I don't have any fear that I'm going to go that far, you know.
There's such wisdom in it, Tals, because what people don't realise is what they judge, they become. What you're pushing against, you create. So, you know, it's beautiful for me to hear that, because for a while there you were pushing against it, and I could see the patterns, and I'm like, dude, there's only so much I could say. I mean, I'd share things subtly, but it was like...
your addiction, you showed up in lollies before it was fucking hard drugs.
I was,
biscuits before, and then it was meth.
Like,
It happened.
Big jump. Yo, I'm in the party mix. Yeah, now we're in the... Whoa, meth.
Got a bag.
Yeah. So,
crazy.
But it's true. I was working a long time in recovery, Tales. Most addicts, no, that's it. But snakes, man, give me some party mix.
Small.
Yeah, because those
when
tendencies
you were a kid
are there.
And you weren't allowed those lollies. It's like a power thing.
Yep. There was all that growing up for me as well, and I mean, I had addictive all or nothing tendencies anyway, but it's very true. And most people in recovery, a lot of people in recovery, they're like, the signs of addiction were there for so long, and often it was lollies and candies and certain behaviours, so it was there. And just great wisdom there, Tals, and really important to share that if you're pushing against something, you're actually saying to the universe, I don't understand this and I want to understand it. Or the universe is like, well, you need to understand it. If you keep pushing it away, if you think about it, you're just adding fuel to that, and eventually...
That you're going to call that experience in. Yeah,
because it's like, you said pull it in, Tales. It's very much like you're pushing it away, but it's a lacky band. It will get to a point where it's like, whoa, bang, you've got to look at this, because ultimately we want to move to a place of non-judgment, because every human behaviour is a potential through all of us. It might not be probable. Some behaviours might not be probable, but they're a potential. So we want to arrive at a space where we're just like, no judgment, because it's just individual aspects of life, souls, people, aspects of God, aspects of the universe, just having their experience and doing whatever they're doing. So it's working towards a space of non-judgment is great, and it's really nice to hear you share that, Tals, because there was tension around addiction, understandably, because it had caused you so much grief around you. So
I was like, and it was so interesting because when I'd go to parties and stuff when I was like 15, 16, all of that. And I didn't have my first like shot of alcohol until I was like 21, which in my day and age is
that's
like
old.
Everyone was getting old smashed at like 14, 15, you know. And I'm still not a big drinker. I don't drink often. But yeah, there was too much fear around it because I had seen alcoholism subtly. Like, alcoholism is way more accepted. But it's the same fucking demon.
Biggest killer.
Seriously, it's addiction. Like, it's the same shit. It's just more acceptable. But anyway, so when I'd be at parties and stuff, like, I'd be scared if I had a sip or someone near me was smoking a J that I'm like, I'm gonna get addicted. Like, there was so much fear. And it was only a matter of time until that manifested, you know, like, so there was this fear, and then it was actually, it might sound backwards, but there was healing in it when I let go of the fear and I let myself have a little mug. I let myself have a little mug and, I'm okay. You know, I'm okay. There's some fun in this, but I'm not going to get eaten alive by this thing. This isn't going to do what my parents went through to me, you know? So it was actually healing when I started to like let go of the control a little bit. And now I don't feel the need to, nor do I feel scared to have a drink, you know? So yeah.
Good. I feel positive to have caution around it. Yeah, absolutely.
But the fear was
wasn't
making
helpful.
it bigger and bigger.
Yeah, like a big scary monster.
Yeah.
But see, you
And
shed
there's nothing to be scared about.
No, and it's like you said when you were talking about your anxiety and the darkness. It only becomes a problem when you're not looking at it. You were like, you had arrived at this point where you had to look at it, and you just did look at it, and it's the same as a bully.
It was like looking a monster in the face.
And
it was so interesting because on the retreats I did, there was looking at entities and energetic things and real darkness and I say darkness, like I was petrified of the actual dark my entire childhood, and it's only been the last 2 years or 3 years that I've stopped sleeping with a little salt lamp on. I've always slept either in my mum's bed or at least with a light, because there was actual fear of dark, and it's such a it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, the darkness
externally
of the energy and then actual darkness. Like I would make myself shake having to walk downstairs if there was no lights on. Like there was so much fear in my little body for so long.
So sensitive, Charles.
Yeah, and it's a gift, but it was so intense and overwhelming, and it manifested in my body, like gut issues, skin, all the things, like the fear in my body. And so it's interesting that I was actually scared of the physical dark. And when I actually started to heal my relationship with being sensitive to energies and those of maybe not love and light, was when I was on these retreats, and I was working with one of my friends, and we had to really do some clearing with something like that. And I had to look this darkness in the eyes of someone I love, one of my sisters, and I wasn't going anywhere, because in that moment it was easier to love her.
For them, for someone else.
It was for her. She needed my unconditional love.
Yeah.
I needed to look that darkness in its eyes with unconditional love, the thing that I had been scared of my entire life. I'd always been sensitive to like energies in rooms and things like that, and I closed myself off because it was fucking intense. I've always felt presence and all of that, but it was on this retreat when one of my sisters needed that unconditional love that it actually healed me and my relationship. And since then I can walk into a dark room and I feel protected, because I felt strong in that moment. That unconditional love, like we were just talking about, it's not whimsy. It's fucking gangster, bro. Like I was in this shala with my witch fucking sisters with drums and shit. And that was love.
Be gone.
It was.
Ain't no evil coming near that. I hear you.
It was gangster.
Yeah.
It was gangster, and real unconditional love fucking is. But healed a lot there, and now like I feel protected.
And realise you could do that for yourself.
Yes, and I felt this. It was so magic shit happens out there. I felt this like ancient grandmother.
Yeah, nice.
And, intuitive singing and stuff, and I think you're so right. Like that, I felt that presence and my own guides and my own strength walking like now in me, because I had to do that for a sister and with a sister to realize that I can access that love anytime for myself, you know?
So without that experience, how would you have got in touch with and had that part of you drawn out of you?
I wouldn't have had the balls to look the darkness in the face.
Yeah.
to put it perfectly.
Yeah.
I always avoided it, you know?
Yeah.
Or the womb.
Yeah.
I didn't have the womb.
Yeah, you did. That's it.
I didn't have the womb to look the darkness in the face.
I like that.
Yeah. So,
Because balls are fucking sensitive.
They are.
It's like they're not that tough.
Try pushing a baby.
Yeah. Much tougher.
Fuck growing balls.
Yeah.
Grow a womb.
Get a womb.
Get yourself a womb.
Get yourself a womb, boy.
It's a portal between
life
source and fucking the earth.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Givers of life, creators of life. Get yourself a womb. Yeah, it's interesting that you're saying all that, Tars, which is really also nice to hear you saying out loud, because darkness can't be where love is. Full stop, end of story. You turn a light on in a dark room, what the fuck happens? The darkness doesn't sit there and be like, fuck you, light, I'm taking off this room.
So real.
The light goes bang and it dissipates. It's the same with our process, guys, and it feels like a bit of a theme weaving in here is your issues, your darkness, your depression, your anxiety, your fears can't keep controlling you or get the better of you if you have the courage to stare them in the face. And darkness breeds in the shadows, and it uses of your fear. It feeds off your fear. So if you're scared of the darkness, you're feeding it. It gets bigger. It's like you're feeding this monster with your fear. Oh yeah, you are scary and I am scared. So you're affirming that to your demons, to your issues, your wounds, your darkness that's in you. So it gets bigger and bigger. It's only when you can stop and go, fuck this, I am love, I am light, because people, you are love. In essence, you are light. That's your true essence beyond this physical form. It is love, it is light that is giving you life, that's animating this body. When you really get in touch with your own heart center and realize that you are a source of love, darkness ain't got shit on you. And the only way that it continues is if you stay in fear and you avoid it and deny it or push it away, because that's where it festers, that's where it gets bigger. If you can turn and look it in the eye, it can't continue on. And that's how you consume your darkness, your fear, by looking at it, by facing it. And it takes courage, but it's with that love, with that light, with that conscious awareness that we can place on the truth of what's going on internally or externally. It's by shining a light on that stuff that darkness can no longer be. It's exactly like turning a light on in a dark room. Switch your light on, people, in your heart center, and darkness has to dissipate. It just can't be where you are, where your presence, where your love, where your light is. So that's a big thing that I share all the time, is encouraging people to face their fears, to face their darkness, because the only way that they continue living on is if you don't look at them, if you avoid them. And the treasure you truly seek, and this is a great example of Tales stepping into music, the treasure that you truly seek is always hidden in the cave that you fear most. It's beyond what you fear most, the unknown and the thing that brings about so much trepidation. It's beyond that thing that so often is the treasure that you're seeking as a heart, as a soul, your puzzle piece. The thing that's going to make your heart sing is you're going to have to go through some fear for that, because what the fuck's the point? And how much are you going to appreciate really landing your purpose as a soul, your heart purpose, not what your head thinks you want to be, but your soul's purpose, soul satisfying life. How are you going to truly treasure that experience if you hadn't had to work for it and go through some darkness for it? You need to go through darkness, go through all this healing that Tales has gone through and that we've all going through in our own way, the hero's journey. It's through that you develop the character. You become the person that you need to be, that can hold this strong presence, and that darkness and fear can't shake you out of your knowing that you are worthy, you're an aspect of life, you're here for a reason, you have worth. Of course you have worth, you're an aspect of life again. And that you have a reason and a purpose for being here. It's through all that healing that builds your character to be able to stand strong in your life. And darkness starts to leave you alone when you're in that, because they know they can't get the better of you. It's like a bully. How many stories have you heard of bullies in school? When you stand up to them, they back down. The darkness is very much like that. that. It's when you stand up, look them in the eye, like you said, Tals. It's like they can't get the better of you anymore, because it's like, I see you and I'm not scared of you, and I'm standing here and I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. What are you going to do about it? And the darkness will back down, because if you get closer with that presence and you're honestly looking at your wounding and the darkness and the things that you fear inside, it has to dissipate, because
whether it's an internal darkness
both
or
ways.
External.
Yep, absolutely.
And as well, like something I wanted to say is, in my experience looking at my own darkness, a big part of that healing has been also taking accountability of how I am responsibility for how I am feeding my own darkness.
Yeah,
and
great.
taking responsibility for that.
Yeah.
And being like, bitch, you're not helping when you do that.
Yeah.
When you make that choice.
Choosing
That's
fear.
feeding the darkness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just there's a calmness when you just admit, like, yo, I am feeding that, and taking full accountability and ownership of your responsibility for your own pain as well. You know, you can't always blame.
You can't blame. Because then you're a victim.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a victim, and we are creators of our own reality. So what I'm hearing there, Tals, is you just coming into more awareness and acceptance that you are in charge of your life, and you are. It's a choice. You're creating a reality. So when you choose fear, that's on you. You're creating more fear.
Yeah.
But what Tals asks herself is,
what would love do?
What would love do now? What a beautiful way to guide yourself and your life, because what would love do now? And again, you touched on, love isn't wimpy and washy.
Sometimes you got to say fuck off with love.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that is what love would do, and that's the most loving option.
Yeah.
Is telling someone to fuck off, or to move house, or to break up with someone, or whatever it is.
Yep.
Or to take that leap. Like, it doesn't always have to be negative, but yeah, something as well I just wanted to say about the music stuff is, and I've always known since I was young that it was going to be music, but I didn't want to be a pop star singing on a stage. Like, that felt restricted to me. It didn't feel like the biggest vision. And it's so interesting because this DJ stuff, although I'm not singing, I mean, I'm singing while I'm mixing.
You're moving towards it.
Yeah, it's opened up a more authentic route for my music, and getting opportunities there with producers and stuff. So that... It was the right step. I needed to go through this way, and I always say to people, it feels like my inner child's dancing next to me when I'm up there. I hope one day you can watch me.
I've seen clips. I'm like,
seen videos.
The moving parts. I'm like, that's why it's been so moving. I mean that deeply, because I'm like,
you can see,
there she fucking is, and we were talking.
That Missy Elliott crumping bitch.
Like, it's you. I'm like, I see you, the one that I knew when you were growing up before all the shit happened.
Yeah.
That's why it's been so beautiful for me, Tars, because I'm in the background, like,
yo, there she is.
She's done it, like, she's going, and it's finally, and it was this fine line through all that space when coming back into your life of letting you go through all this learning, and I'll be like sitting there saying, and I'm like,
come on, Tals.
I'm like, yeah, but I know it's just none of my business, and there's little things I can share, but the best way that I can love Tals a lot of the time is letting her go through her own learning and understanding, and not tell her what I can see and what I think's best for her. And it's like, and I feel you've undergone the learning yourself. Yeah. You've gone through all this. You've got this wisdom on board that you're sharing from your own experience. It's not just what someone's told you. You've had this lived experience, Tals, of battling darkness and walking through the unknown and just not knowing what was going to happen. So you've gone through that. So you've done that.
And that's the thing, like, people can tell you their hero's journey. They can tell you the lessons they've learned and what it's like to look the darkness in the eye, and you've shared your experience with me and stuff, but I'm not gonna actually integrate the lessons until I walk that journey myself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I grew up around two very conscious parents. Like, in the early days of my childhood, I was burning sage and had paint on my body, and it was very free and hippie and a fucking vibe.
Mixed with Missy Elliott.
Yeah, mixed with it's a nice balance. And I feel like I have really come back to that balance, because, like, I love I love Missy. I love that type of music, but I'm also like at my altar, like fucking doing the hippie shit at the same time. It's a bit of both, and that's me. I love the balance.
Yeah.
Diva hippie. But what was I saying?
You were talking about, I don't know, I just got caught up in the music.
Parents, I don't know. I've lost it. Mustn't matter.
I don't know what it was.
Distracted me.
She just comes in. It was that youngster being on stage.
Yeah,
it's like that essence.
Yeah, and I feel like that. I've seen it in other people. Like it's often your life purpose is often that thing that you just loved without thinking about it when you're younger, or something like it. It's that thing that brought you joy that came to you naturally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm so grateful, and it's such a like sigh of relief, because for so long, like obviously I didn't have a normal schooling experience. I didn't go to uni, none of that. Didn't graduate, all the things, and I for a long time didn't know what I was going to do, and I was so fearful of like being an adult and not having a real job and not making real money. And what am I going to do? I can't be a doctor, I can't be a teacher, there's nothing, there's no...
You could be, but you didn't want to be.
I didn't want to be,
thing,
but like that normal 9 to 5 was never for me, obviously.
Sorry, did I?
Obviously. But I thought that was what was going to make me worthy and have like a normal life, was doing that kind of thing. But yeah, it just makes sense that I'm here.
Yes.
It's not normal. And I get paid to dance behind decks and play music I love. Yeah.
So that's what's happened. Tales won her stage at Your Shot. Yeah. And so she was, and her friend won the whole competition, the first girl to. Yeah. And she's been booking gigs. So it's like, and I was also like, yo, we're going to do this podcast before you blow up. And you're like, yo, Dad, I got.
The same week we're doing this, I had an offer for a podcast, the first one to talk about the music and stuff. Yeah. So cool. Because it's starting to grow. And I'm like, I've got no doubt, because I've seen her from day one. I've seen her from such a young age. And like I was sharing, I was really felt compelled to help nurture her into the music industry and dancing, and I disappeared. Yeah. At that time, I didn't have that resilience or the tools to face my own darkness that was coming up. And of course it's coming up. Now your darkness and all your core wounding will come up when you're about to make a major breakthrough. That's when it happened. So when I look back, I'm like, man, I'm starting to land acting jobs. I was starting to play guitar and write songs and do all these things. And I'm seeing Tales like just killing it with the singing and all of this. So of course it's like everything, all the resistance within, but also the resistance without that doesn't want to see bright lights standing up, especially ones that can have an influence in this world. Like you watching this, I'm sure you've met more darkness than most people. That is a good sign, because the darkness, external darkness, will go towards ones that can have great influence, because they don't want you having great influence. When I say great influence, I mean great lights, great hearts, ones that can influence and uplift people in love. Those ones cop it more than other people, of course, because there's forces seen and unseen that want to keep hearts shut. They want to keep you down and out, keep you in your unworthiness and your anxiety, so you don't stand up and shine and be like, fuck, I'm here and I'm an aspect of life. I've got purpose and I'm going to live that wholeheartedly. So remember that, guys. A lot of people trip up. When you've been getting impressions and being inspired in your heart and from life about a career, about a change in your life, about how your heart could be singing with something new in your life, when you do that, I guarantee you are going to get all of these external distractions and internal woundings and things coming up, resistance manifesting internally and externally, not to stop you, but to see, to stop you if it's external sources. And it's also the universe saying, how much do you want it? Boom, exactly. Because it is that. And a lot of people are like, oh, but I've put my hand up and I want to be the best version of myself, and I want to serve, or I want to live this abundant life. And the universe goes, that's great.
here's all the shit that's stopping you from doing it. And people start going, they're like, oh my God, God hates me. And
also they take that as it must be
it's a sign. Because everything happens for a reason. My God, yeah, it does happen for a reason. But those situations are a gift from the universe so that you can say, yes, I want it. So you can develop your character, so you can develop your ability, hone your skill as a creator of your own reality. Because if you're just going to meet some resistance, your heart says, I want to do this. I've got some resistance here, and you crumble and die. What sort of creator are you?
We're stronger than we think. And that's the thing, when we're met with that resistance, it's like, it makes us small. It feels like that bully, like that resistance feels like that monster or that bully. But it's like, we are so much more resilient than we think we are. You can get through, like, hello.
Boom.
Like, look at what you've got through, look at what I've got through, and even worse in the world. And people have come out in love and are still choosing love. So we're so much more resilient. And that's our natural state, is that state of love. So it's like, it's actually a coming home.
Returning.
Yeah,
it's a coming home, absolutely. And you can choose. That's what you said before. You're saying we're so much stronger than we think. We always have that choice. We always have the choice. Love or fear.
Home's always there.
It's there.
It's not going anywhere. And neither is the access to fear either.
No.
I think it's just a choice.
It is a choice.
Are you going to choose love, or are you going to choose fear? And when you start to realize that you have autonomy over that choice and you are the creator, when you really believe that, and when you believe that and also live that, and that's when I believed it, is when I started to see, oh shit, I called this shit in. I am the creator. What?
Yeah.
When you start to see the magic unfold, it's easier and easier to choose that love, to shift through that resistance. Yeah. And now, like, I worked on the minds for a little bit, which is like so random of me and so like so different and from
perfect.
My essence, but perfect. Like,
get on the grind.
It was good in terms of money, but like in terms of my soul and like how harsh the environment is out there and just energetically very dense, all the things. On every plane ride out to work, to those 2 weeks I'd work out there, I would make myself sick with resistance. Like, I was so fearful. I did that for about 10 months, and that was a potent part in my life, because I was doing that when I was also fucking depressed and going through a breakup.
Yeah.
That was the work I was doing.
Yeah.
So although I wouldn't say stay in a job that makes you feel sick all the time, I did it for the perfect amount of time to prove to myself that resilience. And I can do hard things. I am capable of doing hard things in the name of getting myself closer to what I'm supposed to do. Yeah. And sometimes, often, you need to fucking scrub a fucking toilet before you can live your dreams and go dance on a stage and play your music. You know?
Yes.
And thank God. Like, I wouldn't just want to be handed this magnificent, beautiful fucking life I'm living right now on a silver platter. Because I wouldn't cry on my way to every gig with gratitude if I hadn't scrubbed mine as shit. Like, do you know what I mean?
The gratitude.
Yeah. Like, it's so real. And if I hadn't have done the hard work, it wouldn't feel so profound.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was humbling out there.
Yeah. Humility came to me. It's like it's cultivating humility, which is so important, especially if you do move into a space of notoriety or fame and positions of power. I feel like going through those experiences, it humbles you and it keeps you humble, because you've come from that background. You've had those experiences where you have worked hard and you have been through a lot of darkness as well. I feel it's those people that move into positions of fame or power that have been through that stuff, that they're just great leaders and they're great examples. And people
can relate to them because you've got that humanness and there's struggle in humanness. And if you pop out and you're famous and you haven't had any struggle, what can people relate to? You know, because we've all got struggle. You know, we've all been through our own version of that fear and that pain, which is why now that I've found my thing, and that thing is only getting clearer and clearer and more opportunities, and it's getting you know, I doubt it's just going to be DJing, but it's the seed for my purpose. And I'm so, the gratitude for the pain and the fuckery and the childhood and all
fuckery.
All of the fuckery.
Earth life fuckery.
But now I'm like, fuck yeah, I wouldn't want to go into these spaces where I'm speaking to people and connecting to large groups of people without that. Because I've got a story to tell, and there's lessons there. And also there's hope, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I didn't want to live. I didn't want to live. And now I do. So, and you're not alone in that feeling. So many people get to that place where they're like, fuck this is too hard in this physical body. Like, take me home, cunt. Take me home.
Yeah, get me off this place.
Seriously.
Wrong planet.
So many people have been there. That alienation, that feeling, especially the sensitive ones.
Yeah.
My sensitive
Stand up.
Pisces, my energetic fucking
Set boundaries.
lights. Like, please, you got to have those boundaries. And that darkness, the lightest of lights go through the darkest of dark.
Absolutely.
Like, look at us,
Well said.
2 peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Been through the most fuckery.
Well said. Fuckeries.
The fact that we're still here, and when I shared your Instagram page a few weeks ago, I was like, I said a little thing, and I also said, like, I'm so grateful I still have this man earth side, because like, you know,
fuck, it was close, man.
it was
That's
close. And even though we weren't hanging out when it was close to that kind of reality, I could feel my dad disappearing physically. Energetically, I was so connected to you still. And I remember there was one day that I just was filled with fear, thinking that you had died.
Yeah.
And we hadn't been in contact, and I just was on the floor in a fit thinking like, Dad's died.
You fuck, man.
You were so
sorry,
close.
Charles.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, fuck.
But like, it was close.
It's true.
You know?
It was so close. I have emotion about that, Charles, because I was so close many times. The behaviour that I was engaging in was just ridiculously extreme, and I couldn't kill myself. Yet I didn't want to go on. I mean, I say I didn't want to go on. There was always that spark in me, of course, wants to live, the life in me. Yet it was surrounded by so much that didn't want to go on, and that destructive behaviour was leading me. It led me to right on that point of no return. And I've shared many times, I feel I was about 24 hours away from the point of no return where I wouldn't have come back. And when I got
like death or just
death or behaviour that would have seen me do a huge whack of jail, and I just don't think I would have come back. I don't think I would have survived that long in jail. It would have just done my fucking head in.
Fuck.
So, yeah, it was so close. I feel that day I got arrested was in some sort of intervention. Like, I just felt that atmosphere changing, and it was like,
thank God.
Thank God, yeah. It was like, no, truly, because I felt the atmosphere shift, and I felt a door open, like life. Oh, yeah. Fuck, man. It was such a big point, man. Such a big turning point. It was it. It's just like it was make or break, either die, spend 10 years plus in jail, which it would have killed me anyway. I wouldn't have fucking done that time. And or change. And you know, Talia's was just right there. It was like the first thing I thought about was just, it's fucking Talia's birthday, and you guys were interstate and you just moved home, so you weren't at that your usual address, which I knew in my head. And even when I was using, I would always see Talia's or ring her or something. It was just, and I was like, fuck, I'm not even going to get a letter to her, because I don't know where they live, and I was going to be in the watch house for 7 days, and I couldn't even get a letter out in jail for at least a month by the time all the stuff happens. So it was just like, fuck, feeling empathically and knowing Tales and having my conscious switch back on and feeling myself as 12 and her as 12, what that would be like, not having my dad not even make contact was just like, it broke me. It's like, dude, it was enough of my conscience switching on and everything else happening, answered prayers, if you want to call it that. It was like an opening for me to change, which I seized. I really seized in that moment and made a promise to myself. I'm like, I'm changing my life. I don't care how long it takes. I'm willing to take responsibility for all my actions and be completely transparent with my behaviour. And
that accountability.
absolutely, that was right there. It wasn't this, oh, I'm just going to be good and pretend I'm good because I don't want to serve time. It was like, no, I've changed. If I serve time, I serve time, and I'm just going to keep going until and just fulfill what my heart was calling me to do, which was to get to this point now. And I have stuck to my word. I'm 11 years clean and sober, and it's fucking awesome. And it's been beautiful to be able to stand strong and be a rock again in Talia's life, and
everyone else's in your life too.
Yeah, thanks, Tals. Yeah, it's nice to be able to give back as we heal our own wounds. As Jung said, that as we heal our own wounds, we send out invisible letters to the universe to people who are going through that same thing, saying, I've got this covered, and that's how you draw them in. It's quite beautiful. Yeah. So, and it's such a pleasure to be Talia's dad, and I feel so blessed that I have you as the human, as the soul, and our love. I feel like our love bond goes beyond time, beyond this time and space, and I just feel so blessed that whatever it is with us, Tales, that we could weather that storm and just come through, and love fucking wins. Love fucking wins, and I'm just so pleased that you just hung on. You're actively working on yourself for a while, but during those times when you were younger, you just must have had some sort of hope or just such resilience or something as a young one to just hold on in amongst so much turbulence, and you were always so bright and so full of love. It's just like, I'm just so grateful that you are the being that you are, and you managed to just hold on and weather the storm. And then I came back into your life and things have changed, and you've just kept meeting your anxieties and your fears. You've just kept going. You've never given up. And I've seen Tales in such states, and we're states where I can't reach her. All I can do is just love from a distance, and and hold a space for her, because so you've been through the same darkness as me, just different. It's just come about as differently. So it's been fucking rocky. It's been rocky.
Interesting. Like, I realized the timeline there, that you had that intervention and you got arrested. Literally, it was probably 2 weeks before my 12th birthday that Mum and I were living in a refuge.
Yeah,
that we
gone
had
through your own shit.
We had been
that's right.
in 2 different refuges.
That's right.
And I went to like 3 different random rural schools during that time, and we were all we were going through at the same time.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, all
but
in
hectic,
this volcano.
and that's why we moved home. And
yeah
fuck. We all restarted. Like, Mum and I moved home, you got arrested.
Yeah,
started
reset.
coming back in, and it was like 10 years later, just resetting.
Yeah. Yeah, and hearing you share a lot of that, Tales, I'm as shit as it's all been. I did hear you say you wouldn't change anything, and I haven't really been able to say that. I've had deep regrets, and I'm healing, but I'm still moved about. It still hurts me because of who I actually am. You know me, and my nature. It still hurts me that those choices were made. I can see the positive in it. We can turn a disaster into a blessing, absolutely, and have done that. Yet, I wouldn't change anything either. I feel I can say that.
Whoa! I've never heard you say that.
I don't know. I'm like 90% there. I'm 90% there because I still feel flavour. I'm like, I don't know.
Could have been fucking better.
I don't know. Probably
smoother.
Meth probably wasn't a good idea. Fucking hell. But let's go with 90%.
Yeah.
And what I am pleased about is, although you've been through hell, Tales, I am pleased that you're only 22. And you've crammed so much into those 22 years. In an intense 3 years.
85.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I'm like, I need to be looking for a retirement plan around here.
Oh, I'll be retiring at 40.
Hey, good. Yeah. So I'm pleased, Tales, that very much you've been through so many deep life lessons, and it's like, even when a couple of years ago, because of the experience you've had with your parents and just the upbringing you've had, you're just mature and wiser and just you've just been through shit. So you just were a bit deeper. Your character just felt a bit deeper and less immature. And so I'm pleased that you've been through all this stuff as you step into the industry.
Thank you for traumatizing me, Dad.
You're welcome, Dad. You're welcome. I'm pleased on a level that I'm pleased.
Did I laugh? You'll cry.
Yeah. It's good that you've got the life lessons, because I feel this trust. I trust you have got yourself in many ways as you're stepping into this industry, as you're stepping.
That must be a relief for you a bit too.
It is. It's like, because I'm like, Tales knows how to say fuck off.
Yeah.
Tales knows.
Still working.
Still working on it.
Yeah.
Still working on it. Yet I feel that you've just the experiences you've had have molded you into this person that you are now, and I feel you're more ready to step into this womanhood that you're stepping into and the industry that you're going into. Yeah. And of course, you've still got stuff you're working on. We're open and honest about that. Yet there's enough on board, I hope, and anything can happen. Anything can happen at any time. We've talked about that today. Like the most random thing for us to relapse and this to happen. The potential of that was such a back alley in the furthest universe, but it happened.
Still,
anything can happen. Yet I just feel you're, what's the word I'm looking for? You're prepared.
Yeah.
You're more prepared.
I feel prepared. I don't feel like I had the backbone. I spent a lot of time living in, like when I started to unpack the childhood stuff, probably when I was like 15 was when I started to be aware of like, oh, my parents are just people and they have their issues, and that probably affected me. Started looking, actually 14, because that's when Mum was coming out of addiction, and I was the first one she told, and I helped her through that.
Which I'm sorry for that.
Oh,
I'm sorry for that as well.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, to what you said about I must have had like this hope when I was younger that kept me going.
Yeah, what was that?
It came to me, I don't remember feeling like hope, but I remember being so concerned for everyone else's well-being and like wanting to be a nurturer and take care of people from so young that it felt like I wasn't concerned about what was happening inside of me. Even at like 7, 8, 9, 10, I was so worried about, you know, my mum, not only addiction but mental health stuff. I was always on in terms of like I didn't take care of my mum. I did not quite, but I was always worried and caring for other people, it felt. Yeah. So I don't think it was hope. I think it was just like my focus was on getting through things, you know?
Yeah.
But what was I actually talking about before I got into that?
I was talking about how you're prepared for the industry,
Yeah, and I do feel like without these hard experiences and without going into these caves of darkness alone with no support, I wouldn't have the backbone that's needed, especially for an industry like the music industry, where there's all sorts, you know, and although I still struggle to say that, like, loving fuck off sometimes, when it's needed, I can tap in, you know.
When it's really needed.
So, that's why I can confidently say I wouldn't change anything, because who would I actually be if that didn't happen? You know, and like who the fuck would be sitting here? Yeah,
someone very different.
Yeah, and I'm pretty fucking cool.
You are fucking cool, and you're only 22. So for me, it's like when I look back, I'm like, yeah, there was this chunk of time, but we've come out of it, and you're only fucking 22.
Yeah,
there's still so much life to live, and you've got all this crucial life lessons under your belt.
I'm glad I packed it in early and I didn't like get married and then fucking like do it in my 40s.
Yeah, because some people never get these lessons, or it is their 40s. So you really have there's been a lot jammed in.
Yeah. No wonder I was dissociated for a bit. I was like, I'm just going to turn off for a couple of years. Yeah. This is too much.
Don't blame you.
Bit much.
Yeah.
Bit much. I'm shutting down.
Yeah, and when the time was right, it was when you were ready, you just started coming in and
Yeah.
I was always there, Charles. Well, I was, since I've been back, I was just always there, just in the background championing you.
And even in the times where I was ghosting you and like, fuck you, like you're the only person that sees me like fully. That's scary when someone looks you in the eye with unconditional love and sees you beyond all your bullshit and sees that seed of light when you can't even see it. It's intimidating, and I resented that because it's scary to be seen like that and loved like that, even though deep down we are all craving to be seen like that. It's intimidating when you're not feeling worthy. But even when I wasn't talking to you and I was struggling, I could feel your pillar of love just there, like beaming. I could always feel that. So to people that think that, we're not close because we don't see each other, it's like this does go beyond time and space. It goes beyond this realm.
The physical.
Because even though I'm not talking to you,
the love's there.
I feel my Father there, you know? And, I feel like Archangel Michael just came in, and he's always been there on my right shoulder, like as that father, like
yeah.
And Mother Mary.
Yeah, got Mother Mary.
I remember when I was younger, like doing narrators classes and stuff, just tapping into like Mother Mary and Archangel Michael and the blue flame sword and rose quartz and Mother Mary, and it's just like that's always stayed because I was doing those spiritual classes when I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's right.
So
some foundations have been there, Charles, for this
same
work.
with us, that fun foundation where like I think of that photo I sent you of you picking me up, and I'm like,
oh my God. I love that. Oh my God.
I love
God. I looked at that. I'm like,
it's just us in our essence.
Oh my God.
There in that
and you're just like leaning in.
And fully trusting.
Yeah, and like, leaning in. And I'm beaming in it. But that's such a beautiful photo. And I'd forgotten about that. I'm just like, it's so good.
It's so pure.
Yeah, there's some purity in that.
And so that
Innocence.
foundation, like, that is what those first like 5 to 7 years, whatever it was, that I'm so grateful I had that, because I honestly think that little chunk is what got me through the darkness, that 10 years in between then and now. Because without that little foundation of like light and that like knowledge of, my guides and unconditional love and you guys, I don't know where I'd be without that, because it was that little inner child that knew, that was still connected even in the darkest moments. I still knew there was love. I still knew my guides were there loving me and guiding me. So
that gave you such a important foundation. It feels like when you're sharing that, Tales, of connection to more than meets the eye and all of that.
And that's why I was so sensitive to it, because there was awareness there. I feel like all children are so sensitive to other realms.
Just energy.
Energy.
And they can get crushed in our society and in the education system and the medical system but it was funny. It's interesting. I could tell that story, but I won't. I'll talk about something else, because when you were sharing there about being intimidated, it's intimidating when you're seen or loved unconditionally.
Even though we crave it, I feel.
Right? It's just weird. It's this duality of I want it so much, but when we get it, it's like it's intimidating. And I'll share a bit about that, guys, because a lot of people say that love hurts. And love doesn't hurt, but what love does, it highlights in you your hurt. What love does, it highlights in you your pain, your fear, your wounding. So that's why it's such a potent word when you said intimidated, because it's when someone is loving you unconditionally and they're seeing you, what that's doing really is it's shining a spotlight on all the parts in you that you don't love and that are in shame or that are scared and don't feel worthy. So, and there's a misconception out there that when someone's loving you, it's always going to feel blissy and warm. And obviously that is a part of love, absolutely. Yet sometimes, because love can be fierce and stark, it's a light. It highlights everything that in you that isn't loved and of light yet. So it can be quite confronting.
Another existential crisis.
How are you going to bounce from this one?
I feel good.
Okay, same. That was
I
fun.
think we should do it in nature more.
Let's.
It feels a bit more grounding. I'm not like jumping straight into my car like.
Yeah. Well, you're the one that you can fly us around. We can to different places in nature and do more of these episodes if you got time for me, girl.
Next in the Bahamas, maybe.
Yeah. Part 2.
I actually was thinking the other day about how on a private jet you can be in control of
Where you go?
the orcs.
Oh!
You can play whatever.
I'm hearing Missy. Yeah. Back to basics. Come on.
Oh my God.
The start of Back to Basics. That vocal she does in that. She's like paying homage to the sisters in the past. Love that album.
She's the queen.
I
think that's the top
her in her
album.
prime. Yeah, it's like
we always said if we were to be on a talk show and we had to tell people
an album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say Back to Basics.
If I had to choose,
Justify's up there for me too. Senorita's my song. I want that every birthday, my funeral, everything.
Oh my God, that like the production in that when that came out way back. I'm not fucking surprised.
Yeah.
The production in that when that came out and even now it's just like face screwed up. So good. But Christina when she belts out that intro to start like jeez. And Candyman in there. She covers so many bases in that.
Yeah.
In that.
She's got
album.
that old soul. Like no one.
Soul.
She was tapped
white
in.
girl, but like
Fucking
boom. Yeah.
She got
soul.
those sister guides behind her, like coaching her.
Yeah.
Fucking queen.
I've seen her sing with some some real soul sisters, and when she starts singing her part, they're just like, more like, girl, I feel you, and she's just like doing that thing of that. Yeah. You know, when she was in her prime, what a fucking vocalist.
I would have loved to see her live. My God.
Yeah, we saw her. I mean, your mum.
Crazy.
When I think she was just pregnant at that time.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so we love music.
Of course, we end on Back to Basics.
And for the record, I love all old school music as well. Like I've grew my old boy loved.
Yeah.
It's all the 70s rock and all that. It's just we love music.
I'm going backwards. Like I was brought in with the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But now on my own, I'm learning about
exploring.
Miss Sade, one of my faves nowadays, and learning about all the old stuff. So.
Yeah. Because it's music.
And it's so funny because when I DJ, I'm mostly playing techno, which is like a whole different thing. But I love it all.
Yeah.
I love it all. And I go crazy with the techno. I never thought I'd be like a techno girl.
It draws that out of you. It's like let's do this.
It's like a fucking rhythm. Like it's like a meditation.
Yeah, it can be.
Verb.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I just love how music can just draw out of us all these flavours of emotion and just touch us into pain and joy and victory and hurt and all this. It takes us on a journey.
No matter how I'm feeling,
language.
I've got music on. Like,
Taz always got
I need
music.
to cry,
I hear you coming.
I'm blocked. Oh yeah,
it's like,
me coming.
Yeah. Well, I know you're close, and then I'm like, doom, 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 there she is.
Yeah, if I'm ever blocked, like I'll put some music on and it'll just
start moving.
Moving the energy.
Yeah. Awesome. What do you reckon?
Back to basics.
Yeah.
Where we all begin. And that's the greatest lesson.
But yeah.
Back to basics, people.
Yeah. Basics. Keep it simple. That feels like a wrap to me.
Like a wrap.
Is there anything else that I want to share? We love you.
Yeah,
we love you.
Love, keep going.
Yeah, you can come through great adversity and don't judge it, because it's that adversity and challenge that will turn you into a greater being than you are. And every great soul and being that has walked this earth has gone through great trial and tribulation. Like it's a part of that journey. It's a part of that path. So keep on going. If you're in the thick of it, may this be some hope for you to just keep going.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Yeah, exactly. Love you guys. Lots of love. Stay bright. Remember, never ever give up, and let's change this planet.
Let's go.